I'm already streaming the wrong thing, Kraai. However, we can fix this. All right, so. Oh, I've already blown it. Already blown it. I'm streaming myself. Let's see here. Here. And if I find. No, this isn't correct. All right. I'm just going to fix this real quick. And then we're going to figure this out. So I'm going to try to answer the first questions that were asked first. And here we go. This is the Ask Me Anything on Reddit. I'm just going to capture the window and kind of cruise through these questions. I'm assuming I'll eventually run out of these. So if you ask questions either again on this thread, which I'll link to, or on the Twitch or YouTube, I'll try to do my best to answer those as I get to them. I promised to cover these ones first, so that's what I'm going to do. Now, we had a question of the link, and I'll put that up here. Put that in the Twitch and the YouTube link. And okay, great. All right, so my first time doing this. Am I nervous? No, not nervous. But I do think it'll be fun. Maybe I'm nervous I'll screw up something technically, or I'll break AMA form. So here we go. This is from the thread I created earlier. At the moment, there's 32 questions. So first one, what are the dojo's plans for covering the candidates? I always enjoy your broadcasts. Are there any improvements planned for the no engine eval bar you have had in the past? So we are definitely doing it. Will be IM's Pruess and Kavutskiy with me. Hopefully also some special guests. No engine. No engine, baby. And, let's just say, if you're just new to this, the dojo, wondering what that means, most commentary is going to be using an engine. And the engine is sometimes insightful. I think it helps players who don't know anything about chess to see who's winning, right? So it's not like the commentary with an engine is dumb, but what we like at the dojo with the no engine commentary is we want players to see what it's actually like to be in the player's shoes as much as possible. We are not as strong as they are, of course, but we do have a sense of what the human eval of a position is. And the computer is just going to say all kinds of stuff that's actually not pertinent to what's actually going on in the player's heads. So maybe I'll write, we are hoping to show a human view of the game. And we need a new and better eval bar. Basically, what we did in the past was we did a average of whoever was hosting. So oftentimes it was me and David, and I would say it's 0.2 for white, and he would say it's 0.5 for white, and we would average those things out. So that's kind of where we are with that. It could look better. It could look better. Let us know on our Discord if you have an idea to improve it. Or here, actually. You could write it here too. Actually, let me just change it. I'll take out on our Discord. Of course, you could write it here as well. All right, so we'll put that as a comment. Boom. Okay, next up. Dear Jesse, Could you please elaborate? This is a very important question, actually. And so this guy, Buck Duck, has been in the dojo training program for a long time, arguably the beginning. He's been with us. So this is a very important question. Let's read it. Dear Jesse, could you please elaborate how to improve the dojo experience for 1900 plus cohorts? So when we say, he says 1900, we're really talking like FIDE 1900, not chess.com 1900. In the higher cohorts, 2000 and above, there seems to be little interaction between the members, and a path to improvement is left to each one. I think he means like to each person. Normally, you train with one or two persons in terms of sparring, but there's no guidance on what are the weaknesses. Feedback on one's own game is almost non-existent and of little help to what to improve in one's own game of play. To make the game analysis really useful, something like the dojo classes are useful, but in my view, too expensive. When one plays 30 to 40 games a year, it would take 1,000 euros to get feedback on them. That's just a bit too much, in my humble opinion. Okay, good. Now, he's also talking about the Dojo Live classes that we started up recently as well. Let me scroll down so you can see his full question. There it is, from Buck Duck. And, okay, so a lot to unpack. The grammar in there is a little weird, but I do feel I understand completely what he means. So let's get into it bit by bit. The dojo has been, I would say, how should I put it? Is not being very articulate. It becomes harder to find sparring partners as you go up the ladder. And that makes sense because there are less and less people who are high rated. So let's hit the answer button and we're going to do something live. I haven't looked at what the answer is here, but I'm going to pursue something. Okay, so I want to go here, and I'm gonna go. Actually, I'm gonna grab this screen here, and we're gonna go here, not that one, this one, and I'm gonna get a window. Boom. So this is the ChessDojo training program, and I have no idea what the answer is, but we're gonna go look at the full dojo here. So search users, and we're gonna go here to the 1900 to 2000 cohort. Let me just make sure you guys can see this here. Right. So in fact, I'll make this a little smaller so we can see it. Yeah. So what I'll do now is, this is a list of the people in the cohort, and I'll change it to the last 7 days. And so what we see is we have 12 players who have been active in the last 7 days. So the first thing I want to do when I write to Duck Buck back is to say, I agree that it can be difficult to find sparring partners in the higher cohorts. But 1900, 2000 looks pretty healthy. Looking at it now, there are, let me make sure I got it right. There are 12 players who've been active in the last week. Obviously, the more we grow, the more healthy these upper cohorts will become. And in general, right, the idea of the dojo training program has always been that you need an active sparring community of players above you at the same level and below you, even below you, so you can give advice, talk to them. And we have some very active players here. Thor Biddles, Luke is teaching a lot actually on the site. He's a young kid, really ambitious. So this is a very strong group here. Now, I do want to say what really resonates with me, though, let's change screens here for a second. So, full screen. Is that we offer less guidance to the higher rated players. If nothing else, the lower rated players graduate sooner and more often, and I then cover, then I at least superficially cover their profile and games in the Wednesday grad show. So every Wednesday at 12 Eastern, I celebrate the people who have graduated. And now I realize here I'm not, this isn't showing what I wanted to show. So wait a second. Why is that happening? There it is. There's my response to Buck Duck. I have to get it right. Yeah, I have zero problems talking publicly or whatever, but I'll sometimes blow it technologically. So, all right. This is something we do need to work on. And the live classes are a good step in that direction. We'll say, of course, personal time will end up costing something. So far, none of the participants are complaining about cost. At least not yet. For myself, I'm hoping we can get a 2,300 plus dojo class going with a strong GM. So this thing that we've started is called the Game and Profile Review. And so every week we look as a group of about 6 to 8 players, and we look at somebody's game, and then we look at first their profile to see what their training has been since the last time, whenever it was we talked to them. And then we look at a game that they have previously reviewed with a bunch of players who are around their level. That's called the peer review. And so it's not just about your own game. It's not just about your own training, because what you'll end up seeing is that the players around your level are really making the same mistakes that you are, and they're playing the same level of competition that you are. Okay, so let's see if hopefully I wrote that reasonably well, so we'll hit that comment button. But Buck Doug, thank you so much, and I appreciate the frustration for the higher rated players. We do need, I think, to do something more for you guys. And even now with the live classes, we're not ready to offer something for your level. We don't even have that yet. We have a bunch of players really up to about 1,800. You could join that group, and I think you would get a lot out of it. In fact, if you joined it, maybe you would get some other people around your level to join as well. For myself, I will say that before the live classes, I have had a coach on and off. For me as well, it's a little bit of a money question. And very helpful to have the coach, but of course you have to pay for that coach's time. And I want to do the live classes myself, partly for financial reasons, because I'm like, I could, do this whole thing and it wouldn't cost me nearly as much as having a coach every week, a private coach, which, of course it's going to cost a bit. Okay, so let me just check in on the old Twitch to make sure no one's... Is audio really quiet? Oh, I'd hate it if it was quiet. Let's see. Is it quiet? Oh, man, that's one of my bugbears here, that the audio is sometimes quiet. Let's go look real briefly at my sound. So far it looks okay. I'm raising my level. It should be okay. If somebody else thinks it's a problem, please let me know. Houseline says it's good. If Houseline says it's good, then it is good. Because Houseline is a genius when it comes to this kind of stuff. Houseline helps us a little bit with the marketing. He's also actually in the Team Capablanca, which is the highest group that we have at the moment. Okay, good. Let's read the next one. And let me make sure here's a little bit. What I'm grabbing here is a little funny to me. So wait a second. There we go. I have to be correct here. So this is from Matt. Matt says, up until recent years, I have only known chess as online blitz games, starting with Yahoo Chess. A couple of years ago, I decided to try a classical OTB tournament with time control of 90 plus 30, and quickly realized that this is not the game I knew. I still find myself not knowing where to spend my time on. Do you have a recommendation for how to spend time in a more structured or systematic way? If given too much time, my mind goes blank or goes into deep, irrelevant calculations with no coherent thoughts. Other than blunder checks, I don't think my move quality benefits much from extra time. I would appreciate your guidance. Right. So we're going to say, you are not alone! Exclamation point. There are hundreds of thousands of Queen's Gambit generation players who've only known the screen and blitz chess. But chess is ultimately a game of thinking, and it's truly like a muscle that you have to train. A beautiful thing about chess is that it involves different kinds of thinking, right? Calculation intuition, cunning, prudence, memory, among others. And so, for example, when I say prudence, you might think, oh, that's not thinking. But really, like, experiences like simple one actually we had in the Morphe group today. We were talking to players who play too fast. And it's a little bit like, oh, I've been in this situation before where I move too fast. And now I've learned through experience a kind of prudence of like, oh, I need to slow down. And the prudence is oftentimes just self-restraint to stop yourself from playing the impulsive move. And I'll write that. The biggest hurdle for this group of players is to stop themselves from playing impulsive moves. It's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing. I think a lot of times I say that people are like, oh, I don't play impulsive moves. We all play impulsive moves. We all do it. It's just some of us do it more than others. All right. So what I want to add to that is going over your own games, the long ones, and looking at the times spent. I'll give a shout out for the Dojo time graph. Use the Dojo time graph. We have this amazing thing which will tell you if you are moving too fast. Will help you become aware of your own thinking. Maybe briefly I could show a time graph. Let's see here. If I go here and I go to one of my own games, go here, boom. This was a game I did just today, and I'll just share this time graph where I moved too fast. I was the time in black, and you can see both of us were bunnies, which meant we moved a little too fast. My opponent, she did great for her time usage. It's how close you are to that green line, and you can see I moved a little too fast, buddy. And there I would have won that game if I had not played too fast. All right, let's go back to this other screen. All right, so next question. Let's do Oxbanky. Oxbanky says, what's your take on the most efficient way to memorize opening lines? I've been using spaced repetition for my prep and has been way more sticky than just reviewing PGN files. But I'm curious if you see a ceiling to that approach versus just understanding the ideas. Okay, and I would say depends where you are in your chess journey. I'd say no openings at all till 1250 ChessCom, and then you want just general ideas until about 2100 ChessCom. At that point, by the way, Dojo has a whole rating conversion thing. We have FIDE, USCF, Lichess, the whole thing. And I'm just using chess.com because that's the most common one. At that point, doing some spaced repetition for your openings is a great way to learn them. Okay. Yeah, and I would say because of that, most players, are not 2100chess.com, and most of them are getting a superficial kind of knowledge. Yeah. And it kind of hurts them, honestly. And what will happen is you'll remember the wrong moves. Even if you're over 2100chess.com, you will often remember the wrong moves in positions that feel somehow similar to you because you don't actually understand what's going on. But still, I think it's a reasonable thing to do. Okay, so next up we have blurry vertex. And here we go. I have found myself stuck around 1850 USCF since 2024. I've been playing for 4.5 years. I have an idea of some of my own weaknesses, but not sure the best way to address it. I love to attack and can have a good instinct for it, but I also haven't done any serious study ever. I think my practical endgames are probably lacking, but I don't get many equal or close endgames to test it. I rely on patterns too much, I think, but it helps a lot because I have a huge thematic reference at times, but also should be probably positionally weak. I'm often called tactically strong because I can find and come up with complicated tactical ideas, but I'm very prone to missing simple tactics against myself, and my Lichess puzzle rating is usually 2200. Okay, now the Lichess puzzle rating to me is a little confusing because the Lichess ratings are so I don't know. I like Lichess a lot. I don't understand their rating system. It doesn't work for me. But so I don't know what the puzzle rating thing means when you say 2200. But this is a very interesting question, and let's see what we can say to it. If you've never done any serious study, you have a huge expanse to improve your game in. Yeah. Let's give a shout out to the Dojo. The Dojo has a training program that outlines what an 1850 should be working on, and all of it will be serious. That means hard. That means sweat work. But, and I will say, and that's what it will take if you want to improve. You are at a very competitive place where many players around you are working quite hard. In general, you'll need work on everything. Calculation, endgames, openings, etc. Okay. And at 4.5 years, you probably don't have the experience to grasp a lot of endgames and positional ideas. The good news is that it's all there for you to take. How come I blew it here? I should have been writing it here. Okay, I'm going to try to be better about this. So, we will hit the comment button. And I'll check in on the Twitch if people are freaking out about my voice, saying it's too low, something like that. And Sung Leo says, I haven't posted my response to math. Maybe it's Math Guy. Let's go make sure I have. So. Oh, thank you, Sung Lee. I wrote it out, but I hadn't hit the publish button. So just did that. Thank you for that heads up. People on the Twitter keeping me honest. So let's look at Zabi. This might be outside the scope of the AMA, but do you have plans to write another novel? Aside from being a good story, Lisa showed chess culture in a way that's rare in literature cinema. Well, thank you very much. If you look behind me, right there, I have some copies of the book. I published that in 2013. Oh my God, that's already a long time ago. Love the podcast and tournament broadcasts. No engines, no VS. Thank you, Zabi. So let's reply, and we'll say, thank you very much. Writing a book is very hard. It was one of my 3 quests. GM, PhD, and book. All of them hard. I would say the main problem with writing a book is that the kids today aren't interested in reading, and it's much easier to reach people through video. But I'd love to write another book someday and value your encouragement. Okay, let's hit that comment button. Boom. Wait, how come it's not showing up? Where's my Zabi? There's my Zabi. All right. So, comment. Okay, next. It's been a long time. There he is. Safe connection. It's been a long time since you made a video reviewing a classical tournament and the performances of the players in it, like the recent Tata Steel and Prague Masters. I quite like those. When will that kind of content return? Well, I can tell you exactly. See, when I hit reply, it kind of pops up there. There we go. So we will be covering the candidates starting at the end of the month. Will be a lot of work, but enjoyable. For me especially, if I'm going to spend literally thousands of hours watching a tournament I need for something like the WC to be at stake. Oh, and I'm starting to get a little storm coming in here. This is the big one. I don't think it's going to be nearly as intense as people were talking trash about, but it's coming. It's coming. So we'll see what that is. All right, let's see if I can go over here and just check in. Okay, I am checking in briefly now and again on the Twitch and the YouTube just to make sure I'm doing everything right. Chess with Chris. So it says, supposed to be working on something, but saw you're doing this AMA. Are you planning to do any more of these? If this is a fun thing, if people like it, I was thinking too, it might be fun if, let's say, Kostya wanted to do one of these things. It wouldn't just be my voice or something. He could set one of these things up. Maybe we could do it once a month or whatever. Okay, let's continue this beautiful thing. Next up, we have After More. This is from, this guy is a big-time dojoer, a Murakami. After more than 2 years in the program, I realized that after a few graduations, most players reach their plateau in a specific cohort. I think that's true. When you first entered the program, the prospect of a graduation keeps you motivated. But when you reach your plateau, usually what happens next is that, having done almost all of the cohort's material, you are looking for more study resources outside the dojo program. Have you considered to add alternative material in each cohort so people keep studying sensei's references instead of any other kind of material? You could also define the sequence. For example, after you finish book X on strategy, you can read book Y. Thank you and keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Americom. That's a very useful thing. I'm going to say great point and good criticism. All right. A key problem we've been working on for years is to feed players material when they run out of a particular category. E.g., if someone has done all of the tactics for their cohort, then they should, of course, get more. Yeah. The idea of the dojo was that if a player did all of the recs, it would be highly likely that they graduate. And that's mostly been true. But for those for whom that was not the case, we need something more. Yeah. For example, we have players, you can get stuck at any level. I think a lot of players, especially if I'm reading Reddit posts, you get kind of a glib thing with saying like, oh, anybody can make X rating. And I don't think that's true. I think all of us will hit a plateau. And if you were just starting chess and you're just starting working on chess and join the dojo, yeah, like Americom, you will progress kind of nicely and quickly. But at some point, of course, it's going to get hard, right? Of course, it's going to become very difficult. So for those cases, we need to come up with a path. And I just had a way of putting it. Now that we are coming up on Dojo 5.0, it would be a good sign of a mature dojo that we have a path for players like you. One thing we've done is institute the game and profile review, and that is our way of giving a more hands-on approach to those players who need guidance / are stuck. It's for anybody, really. But, speaking for myself, I guess you could say I'm at a plateau. When you're an older dude, it's a whole other thing, too. As an older dude, honestly, I'm just trying to not fall back. I'm fighting gravity here, I'm fighting gravity. So, and we have to recognize that older guys like myself are fighting gravity. Yeah. Okay, I think that's a pretty good response for now. All right, next up, we've got Specialist Bill, who is 2250 FIDE. Yo, Chief! I like that. You call people Chief or the boss. I've always loved that. Yo, Chief! Big fan of the pod. You guys have already covered pretty much everything I could ask on there. I'm always happy when you, Kostya, and David drop a new episode. I first noticed the dojo for your no-engine broadcast of the last candidates and hope it will be back in the upcoming tournament. Big fan. Thanks. Cheers. Great. Let's respond. Thank you so much. We will cover the candidates and need all the encouragement we can get. The no-engine comment. We're like the black sheep, They got those fancy commentaries with their booths and their fancy engines and stuff, and we're just talking like it is. We're just talking like it is. We need a little love out there. All right. So, let me just check in with these other situations. Okay. Let's make sure. Great. So, let's continue. What do we got here? All right. Let's continue this amazing business. And now we got Basic LS. And he's on Team Gukesh. And he says, why is my system not in the dojo book list? As a 1300 USCF player, a ton of people have recommended that book to me. I'm sticking with what's in the dojo, but I have considered taking a pause to pick that book up. Here, this is a good dojo debate. All right, I'm going to give him an upvote. So, this is a great dojo debate. And what we'll say is, I think it's the most important and influential chess book ever written. The problem that I readily can agree with is that its outdated way of presenting the game irks players who don't have a historical understanding of the game. Irks them so much that they start raving madly. They get truly upset. And it ends up causing simply a distraction when we have to enter that conversation. Let me see, I'm going to read this back and see if I agree with it. So, this is a great dojo debate. I think it's the most important and influential chess book ever written. In fact, I'm going to just say, instead of its, I'm going to say my system. The problem that I can readily agree with is that its outdated way of presenting the game irks players who don't have a historical understanding of the game. Irks them so much that they start raving madly. They get truly upset. And it ends up causing simply a distraction. And I'll take away the simply. And it ends up causing a distraction when we have to enter that conversation. Right. Okay. And if you are 1300, you don't necessarily want or need a historical understanding of the game. Yeah. So we'll hit that comment. Ba-boom. Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, it's so important as a book. Even if you start looking at games, even of Fischer, last time I did 60 Memorable, I was like, oh, there's so many moves in here, which I'm like, I see Nimzovich's footprints on this. So, it talks to the whole next generations of players. And it's a beautiful ideas, that I honestly, anytime I analyze chess, I always use some kind of Nimzovichian idea, but I have a sense of where he was wrong or, spoke a little hyperbolically. And that to me is interesting and a nuance, whereas other people, it drives them insane. And so, yeah, we don't want the drama. If it's going to cause so much drama that it takes away from a chess training program, then we're not going to put it in there. Okay, great question. Let's do another one. Where do you look for endgame sensei positions? What does your preparations for those sessions look like? And then also, when analyzing training positions or games of other people, is your analysis approach similar to analyzing your own games, or does your focus change? Okay, good question. So, we will say, many of the endgame sensei positions came from one of my favorite books, Endgame Virtuoso by Smyslov. I studied those positions thoroughly. I'm not spelling thoroughly very good. Thoroughly. I can't spell. It's gone. It's gone. Thoroughly several times. And have a sense of the ideas. Was always interesting to see Pruess and Kostya play them out. I usually made fun of them. That was part of the shtick. I'd be like, oh no, here they come again. And we haven't done it for a while. But we did use, we haven't done the show for a while, but continue to use many of the positions for the endgame sparring within the dojo. All right, let's go to this next question. So, when analyzing training positions or games of other people, is your analysis approach similar? Okay, let's just give a little paragraph here. The main difference in my own games is I have an internal view with emotions attached. Yeah. And that always is an extra layer of insight into what happened. Okay. Beautiful. What am I doing here? What are we doing? Okay, good. Yellow says, do more endgame sensei. Oh, we might do. There's so many things to do. And if you just think about the candidates match coming up, oh man, that's going to be hours and hours and hours. All right. All right, here we go. Start up here. We have lots of questions here. So, what is the worst chess advice you have ever been given? That's a good one. Well, there's probably more than one answer I could give. One, I'll say I read a lot of books as a kid that encouraged pawn play. But then I learned that pawns aren't people. It was a long road. I'm talking about how Nimzovich is outdated. Nimzovich was definitely into the pawn play. I'll tell you that. All right, here we go. Number 2. Do you see yourself as a player, coach, author? First, player, coach, author. That's interesting. I don't really have a first. Wish I could consider myself a player. I enjoy that most. I don't know if that answers this question, but it kind of gets to it. So number 3, can you tell us about the tournaments where you got your GM norms? Yes, okay. LA 2003. It's an invitational organized by the Armenian community there. Exclam. Then we had, I'm going to try to get the dates right. Was it either 2005 or 2006? 2005. Oakland. Organized by the one and only David Pruess. And then we had 2007 Foxwoods beats Naka for the norm and rating. Have gotten a couple more norms after I became GM. Always nice. Okay. In your opinion, what qualities make up a good chess coach? I'm getting a lot of questions from this guy. All right, let's answer this one. So, that they need to be actively working on their own game. It helps if they have insight. Let's call it maybe emotional insight and chess culture. Experience. Okay. Number 5. We're cruising on here. In tournament play, what opening makes you the most excited to play or play against? I don't have any opening fetishes. Number 6. What is the best non-chess advice that you have applied to chess? Thucydides. I want to make sure I get the proper spelling. You know, you could, because his name's Greek, you could do different things. But Thucydides, let's get his name correct before I go out into the world. Yeah, I was close. So, where am I? Oh, I've lost my mind, I think. I'm over here. Thucydides talked to me about phronesis. Battle wisdom might be a good translation? Okay, if you had a chess motto, what would it be? Oh, pawns aren't people. Pawns aren't people. All right. So, how do you personally bounce back from a tough tournament loss, assuming you have another round to play? It usually starts with a good spanking. 9. I try to avoid online chess. He's asking about online chess. What is my favorite time control? I would say these days 90 plus 30. Okay, that was a long one. All right, thank you so much for that, though. That was cool. Lots of questions. I answered them, though. Oh, I answered them, bud. A whole interview in one reply. That's right. Okay, so. All right, let's keep going. I've been at it for a while. So, Counterfake says, I haven't been able to keep up with the happenings in the dojo lately, but I was wondering how the community building is going compared to what you had hoped for. Do you have any internal leagues ladders going with vetted non-cheater players, and how is the participation? Okay, good question. So, all right. There is good and bad. So on the positive side, we have the Dojo Round Robin, which runs within cohorts. So that's 100-point bands across the dojo. It's been a great way for players to get a long game in against a non-cheater, someone who will use their time, and someone who will often have time for a post-mortem. On the negative side, we wish we had more stronger players, especially 2200 plus. Yeah. And that's also for selfish reasons on my part. I'd like a group of players I could train with. And we have that to a certain extent. It's just not as vibrant. Actually, I should write that. We have that to a certain extent at the top, but it's not nearly as vibrant as the under 1800 cohorts. Okay, so with that, boom. All right, so here we got a next one. Irargarich I would like to know your tips to reduce blunders and improve calculation for somebody that struggles to visualize the board past 2 or 3 moves. Any helpful tips or ideas that can be worked and are not the typical recommendations? Thanks. Well, I don't know if my idea is going to be typical, but I can tell you, in my experience, the biggest thing holding players back is that they don't use their clock time. They move fast and impulsively. Yeah. Okay. Boom. So here we go. Venus DeMilo. How did you decide to put chess on hold after a successful junior career for university studies? Did you always know, this is a great question, did you always know that you would go that route and chess would still be there if you wanted it? What made you decide to come back to pursue the GM title? Finally, to what extent do you think chess improvement is a healthy pursuit compared to academic study and so on? Really appreciate all the content you and your friends make, and I'm sorry if you've answered these cues before. I just think your background as a GM is interesting. Okay, so let's answer this one. So, Venus DeMilo here. When I was a kid, chess was not an acceptable thing to do. Nor was there much money in it. So, when I got a chess scholarship, it seemed like the only path, even though I never enjoyed high school or school in general. But I did enjoy reading books and talking about them. Still do. In the end, what brought me back to chess was both a love of the game and the feeling that it was fair. After graduate school, academia became a nasty game that I didn't want to play anymore. Yeah, I'd say that's probably a way to put it. So, let's answer one more question here, and that is it healthy? I don't know. I think while it's obvious that physical activity is necessary to be healthy, we still have a lot to learn about the mind. My psychiatrist friend assures me, though, that chess is keeping his mind straight. Okay. Thank you, Venus DeMilo. I'm enjoying these questions. This is fun. All right, here we go. As a sports scientist and a chess player, I always wondered why chess is considered a sport, but it is not approached as such. In the sports science field, you have papers which give people who play and train some science-based instructions which allow them to optimize their training regimen. While in chess, I have noticed a very different approach based mostly on anecdotal evidence and experience. While the second approach has surely its value, I feel like chess players and coaches might get a bit stuck at some training which, for all its value, could be improved. We all know the different approaches out there like endgame first and no opening and many more, but the back of systemic work and studies feels a bit unserious for such a serious sport like chess. Also, I think there is a common misconception about what kind of physical training you would need to improve your stamina for tournament play. For example, I see many people, including top players, lifting weights, which is great in itself, but does it really correlate with better stamina OTB? Why would that work that way? The energy systems that are used are completely different, and again, the lack of studies leaves more confusion and space for speculation. What are your thoughts on all those topics? Greetings from Italy. Oh, okay, this is a fun one. I like this one a lot. So, great question. Let's start with performance-enhancing drugs. People in the chess community don't want to talk about it. At the top, it might be a Armstrong omerta. Omerta is like this, the Italian word for don't talk about it. Let's call it a Lance Armstrong omerta. But for regular players like myself, I can say that people like my fellow David Pruess and Kostya Kavutskiy can't be bothered to even think about it. I start there because if you aren't willing to optimize there, aren't you probably missing a whole range of optimizations? Question mark. Yeah. As far as fitness goes, I feel strongly that general measures of fitness, let's mention resting heart rate, percentage body fat, correlate strongly with chess stamina. And it's especially evident when I go play in the senior leagues. And so in regards to weightlifting, I'd say you want it, cardio, or like some kind of high intensity training, and zone 2 work. Once your stamina goes, you will make an impulsive decision over the board, and no one has unlimited stamina. Okay. Okay, hopefully that was helpful. But notice that just in general what he's saying is so important is that I believe in, let's say, the Chess Dojo training program, but when it comes to optimizations, people aren't really going deep into it and are unwilling. Like Kostya and Dave, they don't want to talk about these other things. They're not ready. Kostya needs to lift some weights, dude. You know. I've actually got a vid coming out on weightlifting and other things. Hopefully it's in the can. We got a lot of videos coming out right at the moment. My storm's coming in, but I tell you what, it's not nearly as hot as it was coming in before. You know, they were talking all kinds of smack. So far, I'm not seeing huge winds or nothing crazy yet. Okay, let's continue this amazing thing here. When you all made the top 10 prediction list around June, July, did you all think there was a remote chance of Gukesh crashing out of the top 10? And what do you think will happen with him given the Olympiad and title match in second half of 2026? Yeah. Gukesh is having a really hard time. I do believe he will eventually get his head back on straight and will present a tougher World Championship challenge than people are currently predicting. No one believes him anymore. You know? God, he's having it rough, though. Now, in the last one we did, I think he was already kind of crashing out. Am I a homosexual? No, but it feels a little homophobic that you put that. I'll leave it there. Okay. Other than prepping for your opponent, if you know who they are, how do you prepare for a tournament? What is your routine 3 days out, 2 days out? one day out in the day of the tournament. So in the run-up, or rather they'll say, the run-up to the tournament is the only time I'll study openings. It's a little like cramming for a test. On the day before, I will almost always try to rest. All right, now we got how to battle the mental aspect of the game. So this is efficient cream. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. You know what I'm going to do, actually? I'm going to refresh this just to see what it looks like, and I can get back to efficient cream. See, I think it might have moved it around a little bit based on the upvotes. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Anyways, here we go. How to battle the mental aspect of the game. Review your games and think about and analyze the emotions you felt. Get super strong physically. There we go. Which top 3 or 5 players would you suggest to go through their game solely for positional understanding? I know the most popular would be Karpov, Capablanca, Anderson, but still want to know your take on this. That's an interesting question. I don't think any great player owns positional understanding. Kasparov was a great positional player. Yeah. I guess that's my comment. Next, Dadestar. Does meaningful chess progress follow specialization or diversification? I know a 2300 ChessCom player who exclusively plays Catalan, Grunfeld, and Sicilian. Do I need to just buckle down and specialize in one opening to reach 2100 plus? Well, let's say it can help to deeply understand an opening. And this guy probably catches many unprepared players in blitz. But what happens if someone prepares for him? Question mark. All right, next one. Hi, Jesse. How does one improve from 2,000 plus to FIDE Master? What part of the game has got to focus on? Also, how to study classical games to get the most out of them for improvement. Thank you. So, that's a big jump. So we'll say first 300 points at any level is a massive jump. And you'll need to study everything. If there's a focus, it should be on sweat work, i.e., if it feels easy, then it isn't right. For classical games, guess the move and memorizing them is a good place to start. Yeah. Ba-boom. Dr. Kraai. Oh, I'm a doctor today. I'm a doctor. I don't know how much it's helped me in life, but I'm a doctor. Love the work at the dojo. What was one of the hardest part of your journey to GM, and how did you overcome it? What rating were you at? What was the challenge in the chess that was hard to get past? Okay, let's do this one by one. He is Crozif at the dojo, and Claudius the Goat on Reddit. So, we will say to number one, I was at a hard plateau of let's just say it was around 2450. Let's say it was of 2450 FIDE for years. And I knew I had to study my own games, but it was just so hard. I eventually had to force myself to do it, and after a while, I even came to enjoy it. So, number two, what is a formative playing experience you have had, such as a very impactful game or tournament? What was it like when you were getting some norms? I would say playing in the German Bundesliga in the 90s. Got to play and analyze with many legends. Getting the norms after that was pure Fight Club. It was, too. What player in your journey have you played the most? Who have you always wanted to play but never had the opportunity? Who have I played the most? That's a good question. I've played a couple people a lot. I would say maybe GM's Seviano, Kashian, Yermolinsky. I play those guys a lot. Who did I really... I want to play all the old time legends. Number 4, when did you start saying check to the miserable king, and how did it come about? There's a great hustler in LA who says it, and I stole it from him. Yeah. What is the main argument for your dissertation of your PhD? That the hunt for astrological pursuits or questions was central to the publishing of the Copernican hypothesis. 1500s. I'm not an astrologer. I'm just saying that was a key part of the story. Okay, 6. I have felt in chess there are a lot of plateaus of stagnation and then sudden jumps of understanding. Elizabeth Spiegel, formerly Elizabeth Vickery, says the same. Do you have any member of significant understanding moments in chess? What were they, and when did they happen? Many small moments. I'll mention studying Smyslov, Nimzovich, and my own games. All right, that was a long one. Boom. Who is my pick? NCAA. No. Who's my pick for the NCAA? Don't follow. Excellent. I've never been into college sports. No. So, for someone who doesn't want to devote too much time on memorizing openings, for those, do you have a set of openings which can be played mostly on understanding rather than memorizing? Some features would be following simple positional principles. Yeah. I know that no opening would 100% satisfy this criteria. Okay. We could mention Colley and Colley, King's Indian Attack, and London come to mind. Okay. If you were made FIDE president, what radical change would you bring to World Championship format? I'd bring back the old candidates' matches and interzonal system. That'll make me popular, huh? So, boring breadfruit. Which is a good method to study chess watching online content? I think he's asking which one is a better one, watching online content or reading books. If reading books is good, what books would you recommend? And Claudius the Great mentions the Dojo books, and I'm going to use his answer. I like this answer. Definitely books, and Claudius gives a good link below. Okay. Good. I got a lot of questions here, man. Is it possible to drive a king to the corner with just the king and knight on an empty board, or at least the edge? How do you practice this in relation to the knight first pawn? So, okay. It's amazing that you can shepherd the king with just a knight and pawn. Definitely takes some practice. Definitely takes some practice. You can use a friend and or bot till you get it right. Or just watch my video. Smiley face. Okay, now you have to watch the video and then do some. All right, here we go. Oh, am I reaching the end? No. So here we go. What's some of the most unique chess material out there you're familiar with? Something that lets you view the game through an entirely new lens. Well, that's interesting. I've read a lot of good books. What are the mind-blowing ones? I guess he's asking. What are the mind-blowing ones? Books that opened my mind. My System, Perfect Your Chess. Recently there was Think Like a Grandmaster. What else? I had a lot of books, but what do I want to mention? Endgame Virtuoso. And many more. All right, we'll leave it at that. Takino says, I like your book reviews and know you're always on the lookout for potential books that would fit the dojo. Are you familiar with Chess Strategy for Club Players by Grutin or the Chess Fundamental series by Yusupov? I'd love to hear your thoughts on those, if not now, then in a future video. Are you guys still looking for coders, by the way? What tech stack do you use? If so, I might be interested in helping out. Big fan of the dojo approach, by the way. You guys built a great community. So, say thank you. Have not yet got to Grutin or Yusupov. The latter is especially popular within the dojo community. We finally got some coders, but are always looking for more people to help. All right. If you want, we have a beautiful coder, head coder, master coder named Jack. And he can, if you went to the dojo, he could probably help you out. He could send you in the right way. All right, here we go. Cool Asparagus. Hi, Jesse. Big fan of yours. I needed a GM's perspective on my rating climb. I am stuck at an 1800, 1900 blitz rating for long. I have tried buying courses, studying diligently tactics and all, and have improved over years, but I can't seem to progress beyond this. When do we know it's time to stop and just enjoy chess for what it is? Well, not sure of your exact situation, but it sounds like you are playing blitz and not doing sweat work. It's only sweat work, thinking along, that will help. Even if you just want to play better blitz. Okay. Bang. Look at all these questions. Dang, bruv. Oh, I'm never getting done. I'm never going to be done. Hi, Jesse. Bought your E4 course and love it. I just got my dream job, and I'm going to treat myself by going to a big open tournament in the U.S. Which one is the best run, most fun? 1800 USCF. Thanks. Definitely the tournaments in Charlotte and the newly renovated St. Louis Club. So, St. Louis, of course, had several very strong events for a long time, but only now do they have the space to really host big ones. And Charlotte's just amazing. So those two I would definitely recommend. So here we go. I'm currently 2093 at Lead Chess, but I still struggle in evaluating the position. I usually underestimate and fail to recognize how strong or weak the position is. One time at OTB, I resigned in a drawn game against a Class A player. King and queen versus king plus queen plus pawn. Do you have a guideline on how to give evaluation points to the position? Kind of similar to the No Engine commentary. Now, AC Secret, I recognize that name. He is in the dojo and has made a lot of progress in his game. I just did myself wrong here. Okay, I'm fading a little bit. Evaluation points. I'm not sure. Not sure what eval points are. It's an art form. And of course, I'm going to say that you can best learn it from analyzing your own games, smiley face, but I'll give a shout out to Perlstein's book. Let's give him Evaluate Like a GM. Good. What is something you would have done differently to learn and improve chess now compared to back in the day? Review my games religiously. And I guess you can say that has nothing to do with modern technology. Okay, Ordinary. Hi, Jesse. I was having trouble feeling motivated ever since I started doing OTB. I'm part of the Dojo program and am around 2350 ChessCom. I started playing OTB and have been having problems overthinking. Not necessarily with the game, but outside of the game. Never had this issue being so attached to games, but playing a single game over 3 hours while also taking time off to just go to an event has me super dejected whenever I lose. I never had this issue before and was wondering how you'd recommend to get over this hurdle. I did 4 tournaments last year, of which the first one I was sick during the competition and slightly underperformed. The second one I had a catastrophic event. From there, I was having trouble getting back into the game, but I was lucky enough a family member opted to pay for a mini vacation to a tournament, even though I didn't play for months, and had gave up after the really bad experience I had in the second tournament. Considering I didn't play and was just doing it for fun, I did well to finish half a point behind first place in a 92-person tournament. Amazing. I was leading the field for half of the tournament as well. The tournament revitalized my drive due to how well it went. I felt like it went well because I didn't care but was just part of a fun mini vacation for my birthday. Unfortunately, I lose the subsequent first game at my next tournament to a master. I was very frustrated with myself because I had a 50-minute lead on the clock with a good position. I moved too fast to try and maintain the lead in time and made a stupid move. Kicked myself in the face and ended up dropping out of the tournament as I was unable to sleep that night and didn't want to play on no sleep. I get dejected again, just like after the second tournament. Overall, I'm just struggling to keep to the game when there's so much investment on a long game and time off of work. It's hard as an adult and can get stressful investing all my spare time to chess when I have responsibilities. Sorry if I'm rambling, and it isn't a direct chess question, but I was wondering if you had a similar experience and how to overcome this hurdle. You can see in the Dojo training program right around when I got dejected after that second tournament, as I haven't been using it when I was quite active beforehand. It was already hard enough with some of my medical issues to progress, and I would like to further grow and get past this next hurdle. Viral Stigma. I recognize that name. He is definitely an active member of the dojo. Okay, so, boom. First, we're going to say, I hear you. Chess will always be brutal. It will cost resources and emotional energy, which I guess is also a resource. In your, well, I would say, let's put it this way. In general, I think it's fair to say that everyone has hurdles. And the harder they are, the more reward you will get by pushing through them. I think that's fair. Okay. Ba-boom. This storm is nothing. They're talking about some storm. I don't got nothing going on over here. Hi, Jesse. Thanks for the AMA. Do you think that the growing disinterest in reading has made it harder for young people to get better at chess than it was in the past? Also, how does it work in the dojo? Is learning from books mandatory or optional? Books are great, but many new tools allow players to connect in so many interesting ways. Let's say it's a mandatory. I'd say kind of mandatory. There are ways to work around books, though. All right. Comment. Do you have a favorite chess variant? I like to talk smack when I play Bug House. Whew, this was a long AMA. Now I'm going to refresh and see what we got. Dang, that was a long one, man. So, I think I answered everything. I think. Oh, man, look at this thing. What a work of art I've done. What a work of art. I got this whole thing going on here. Whew. All right, I think. Uh-oh. Oh, and there's Cross Online. I didn't even realize that was Cross Online one. That was the long one. He's in the dojo. Okay, you guys, I'm tapped out. I'm tapped out, but I do believe I've answered most of the questions here. Ah, it was fun. I will come back to these questions and address anything that comes up. And I know there were some questions in the Twitch and the YouTube, but I'll get to that another time since this was a Reddit AMA. All right, everybody, I am going to raid the famous Chess Sharks. And that's it for me, my friends. Raid Chess Sharks.